without spending words in telling him all the steps, all the documents, because it's not something the client is really interested to at the moment. And at the end, we will put the conclusions. So we have to remember that this is not a complete legal opinion, so we have to ask for more information. And telling the clients, yeah, that we ask for more information, because what we gave is just is a general opinion. It's not a complete legal opinion, so please provide us more information. Then we have to propose him an agreement with us. So, for example, saying that it's our common practice to establish a contractual relationship with our clients, and proposing him to sign our retainer agreement. And we will finish our emails with a sentence like, we are looking forward to, this is a standard practice, it's a polite expression. So basically this can be a good conclusion for our email. As the foregoing represent a general legal opinion, we invite you to give us more detailed information about the project to allow us to provide you a more complete memorandum according to the specific characteristics of your desired investment. Before beginning a substantive legal work, it's our standard policy for clients to sign our retainer agreement in order to establish a contractual relationship between us. Feel free to let us know any further question or comment. We are looking forward to giving you assistance. Best regards, and your signature. Now, I'd like to analyze, to examine an answer that one of our professionals gave to this client, because this is a real issue. This client really exists, and we really gave an answer to him. This was the draft of the main contents of this answer email. So we can see that this professional of ours talked about all the issues with this order. First of all, the characteristics of a WOFE, applicable laws. Then he talked immediately about the procedures, which instead we decided to put on at the end of our email. And then he talked about intellectual property protection and labor policy, which we saw instead that we have to talk about it at the beginning of our email, because it's regarding more or less the expenses the client has to face in setting up his business. So I will use the same colors I used before. So the black color was corporate taxation and other expenses. The blue color was IP, and the pink color was procedures. I think that the first paragraph can be directly cancelled, because it's really not useful for the client to know that generally a WOFE is a limited liability company, the establishment of which is governed by the company law of the PRC on enterprises operating exclusively with foreign capital. Because this client is not a lawyer, he's not interested in know which is the applicable law, but he is interested to know the effects of this law on his business and which are the main practical topics he has to deal with. So, not to make our email so long, we can just cancel this. And then we have to change the position of these topics according to what we decided before. So we will put at the beginning corporate tax and other expenses, then IP, and then the procedures. We can examine now the first topic, which is belonging to corporate tax and other expenses. So, something is missing inside this paragraph. For example, he didn't talk about the initial capital required for the investment, which is the main issue, I think, in answering to this potential client. He only talked about establishing this special purpose vehicle, shell company, and the labor contract law in a very general way, just mentioning that we have this new labor law we have to deal with. and that can have some effects on the total cost of the company. He hasn't provided information about the net annual income taxes this company has to pay, and also he didn't mention the wages for workers. And this part is very generic, and I think it's not useful for the client to know that we have this new law we have to deal with, so we can cancel this part. And we have to add these other topics he forgot to talk about: initial capital and wages for workers and taxation. Then let's examine the procedure paragraph. You can see that he's talking, he is giving very deep explanation of all the steps we have to deal with, the authorities, where, which kind of documents. I don't think that the client is interested in knowing this at the moment. So this part appears to be too much detailed. So as we decided before, you should be very brief in explaining the procedures. Just say him, we have two procedures, one for the approval and one for the registration after the establishment. And yeah, this is basically what I had to talk to you about, and I hope it was useful. If you have any questions, and this is the end. Thanks for your attention.
Good, thanks very much, Aldo. Fantastic presentation. So let's move right into some brief questions. Interns, any thought? Tech, what do you think?
I just want to. What's the meaning of the brief due diligence?
Due diligence. I explained you at the beginning that basically we have two concepts of due diligence. One is belonging to a contractual relationship between two parties, or behavior that a party must have during a proceeding, for example, and it means not to harm the rights of the other party of your relationship. So it's an obligation regarding a certain behavior a party must have in its relationship with its counterparty. This kind of due diligence is the investigative due diligence. It's the performance of acquiring information about a business or about a person. So, brief in this case, because we are not examining official documents, we are not going so deep. It's just gathering some information on the internet before writing down an answer email to this client. An investigative due diligence that we can do in a very deep way is, for example, when we want to acquire assets or an entire company. So we will examine deeply this company, the balance sheet, all the information we can find about this company to evaluate if this is a good business or not. In this case, we just want to acquire some information about this John Mestitz. Who is this guy? Who is this? What is this company? What are they doing? Which kind of product they sell? If they sell products, or what kind of services they provide? And also on these lawyers, because they know us, so I also want to know them.
So does it mean that it's just a basic obligations?
No, it's not an obligation. It's just our interest in acquiring information. It's two different concepts.
Due diligence， 我们一般在这个汉语里面翻译成叫尽职调查，实际上相当于是 research and investigations of something.
Yeah. The first concept, the other one, the obligation of behavior, is commonly called due care, but it's also called due diligence. However, so basically these two concepts. This is not regarding that aspect. It's a completely different thing.
But